ladies and gentlemen, and it's time for the Sunday night review and look forward. And this is week 5 of our course, so this is going to be just a little different in the nature of what we do this week. So let me first take a quick look back, and very truthfully, it's a quick look back at the previous week because I've really just kind of looked along as people have been writing this week. Haven't really had that much time. It's a lot of things going on, and amongst them was a major athletic event that I'm involved in as a college tennis coach, and I'll come to that in a minute. So again, it seems to be a pretty lively discussion, and that idea of competitive balance I think was very important for us to spend a unit on, because a lot of it speaks to not only the product of what we see on the field, but the underpinnings of the business, how revenue is distributed, how profits are managed or controlled, as we talked earlier, how costs are controlled. We look at how leagues use things such as salary caps and drafts, and the old soccer tradition of promotion and relegation. There are so many major ways that people use to control competitive balance. And the idea is competitive balance absolutely important for the success on the field. I think it is, but it's also good to see some consistent winners. We've seen some very dynasty-like things in the past few years. The Patriots are an example. Not that many in other sports. Well, excuse me, the Golden State Warriors. Are these creating interest in the respective sports, or are they depressing it? I don't know. We have an exact answer, but it's certainly an interesting topic to debate from an economic point of view. It's hard to keep our focus on the economics because a lot of us will get very passionate about it in our views as fans, and that's going to be very interesting for me to go over this week. And I apologize for not getting to it sooner, but that's just how things have worked. Now, 2 things are going to come along this week, and they are, first, what the readings and resources are all about, and that's something I'll be talking about here, the value of a team to a community. You hear it all the time. Well, we're going to have a sports franchise, and it's good for the community. Yeah? How? Does it just raise interest? Remember all the fuss when LeBron James went back to Cleveland and he wrote letters saying that this was for all of Northeast Ohio? Well, what's the economic impact been on Northeast Ohio, or Cleveland more specifically? Why did the Raiders move to Las Vegas from Oakland, and previously from Los Angeles back to Oakland from whence they had came? Lots of different things go on. You see owners threatening to move teams around if they don't get their new stadiums. We see it on the minor league level where people start and move teams around because one of the things we'll always argue is they bring jobs, they bring opportunities to communities, they bring people in. What's the real case? There are debates on both sides of the issue, and I think it's very important that we look at them and read them. So that's going to come up this week. I think it's very interesting. You'll be able to use that not only a little bit in something else that goes on this week, but very much so in the later stages of the course. So please take a look at it, because there won't be a discussion board this week. This is the week we don't do a discussion. This is the week you actually do a rather major assignment. And if you've noted, one thing I don't do is I don't have a test or anything. You didn't have a midterm exam, so to speak, in the 4th week, but here in the 5th week, you're having what I call a midterm exercise. And I think it's pretty well explained for you, but just let me give you a little bit of insight on it. About 4 or 5 years ago, one of our on-campus sport management students, the young man was a baseball player here, and he was from, I believe, Arizona, but someplace out west like that. And he was coming back from spring break, and I had just given his sport econ class this very assignment that you're going to work on. And he was coming back from spring break and got bumped up to first class by whatever circumstance caused that to happen, and ended up sitting next to the owner of an NBA and NHL franchise. And he told this gentleman about the assignment he was working on for his sport economics class. And from that conversation, the actual NBA owner complimented us on what we were doing and said, "Oh, that's a really good question. It's very interesting because of X, Y, and Z." And he told my student what his answer would be to the inquiry you're about to write about. And so at the end of the week, when the assignment's been turned in and everything, I will identify the owner for you and let you know what his answer was. But for this week, it's time for you to answer a question. And I think you really need to look at it in the context of a lot of things we've seen going on. Right now, the scenario is real simple. It's a little out of season. It's a basketball question. If we do this course in Mod 3, it is extremely timely because it always falls during the time frame when this whole scenario is about to happen. But you're charged with being the owner of a team, an NBA team, that's just on the edge of making the playoffs. You know, maybe that 8th or 9th spot in the standings. Are you going to make the playoffs or aren't you? Are you going to be in the draft lottery or aren't you? What are you trying for? Are you tanking games? Are you going all out to win games? These are issues we read about and we get kind of really worked up about them as fans. But they've got real economic impact on their teams. Are you going to follow the path of the 76ers and trust the process? Or are you going to push your way into the playoffs and try to make a splash now and attract free agents? There are all sorts of possibilities. So what you really need to do is read the assignment carefully and then tackle it from the perspective of the owner of the team. Not from the fans, not from the players, the owner of the team. What's your goal? To build value, to earn profit? You decide, you articulate that goal, and then decide how you're going to handle this scenario. With 10 games left, do you make a playoff push or do you tank it and go into the lottery? Sounds like a simple question. Fans debate it all the time. But let me tell you that owners think this is a tough dilemma. And when you write and when you research, I need you to think about this in business and economic terms primarily. That's what this assignment is all about. I think you're going to have fun with it. Most classes do. It's not easy. It looks like it might be on the surface, but again, it's going to require a lot of thought. It's going to require a lot of effort. It's going to require some research, and you've only got a week to do it. That's why there's no discussion board. So the readings and resources, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, are going to be stuff that you can apply later in the class, and maybe even some of it this week. And then for the rest of the week, I need you to concentrate on this assignment, which is laid out for you in Unit 5. And I will get to the grading of the discussion boards and later this week and try to do it in a timely fashion. Now, what's interesting, going back to the readings and resources about the value of the community to the community, I just spent the bulk of the last 4 days at the Billie Jean King United States Tennis Association National Tennis Center, the site of the U.S. Open. Most people would just say at the U.S. Open. Normally we see this on television for 2 weeks in the year. We see this venue that's just filled with thousands and thousands of people every day. Grounds have numerous courts. You see Arthur Ashe Stadium that seats 23,000 people. They're building a new Louis Armstrong Stadium right next door to replace the old one that's going to seat, I think, about 12,000 people, also with a retractable roof. The grandstand court is there. The field courts. Every day I walk by when I attend the tournament or when I watch on TV in the last week in August and first week of September, all you see are thousands and thousands of people, all spending money. Booths of vendors, food courts, food booths, equipment salesmen, everything is there. It's just a giant festival. Well, we're here with the Intercollegiate Tennis Association Division II Eastern Regional Championships. Roughly 200 to 300 people there to play really top level Division II tennis. And I'm proud to say one of your post players is in the semifinals of the women's singles tomorrow. So good luck, Lisa. I'll be following. Saw your last 2 matches today, and certainly I'll be following along tomorrow morning. But back to my point. When I looked around this week, there were only 200 people there. This place lies pretty much unused for over 50 weeks of the year, about, right? 50 out of 52 weeks. There's nobody there. Does this have an economic impact to the community in Flushing, in New York? Is it just a drop in the bucket in New York? Would it make a difference if it was in some other city? These are all things I really thought about as I was driving home tonight and coming home here to look at what we could talk about. This is an example. Here is a giant sports facility, and it's used 2.5 weeks a year. What's the economies of this? What are the economic thinking that goes into this? How does it fit? And yet across the parking lot was Citi Field. And today there was a Mets game. But then you look at Citi Field. Much more expensive than the tennis center. Right next door. And here is a great site. Used 81 home dates. That's it. Probably some concerts and things go on there. We understand that. But fewer than 100 days out of 365, something's going on at Citi Field. What's the impact of Citi Field on that neighborhood, on that area? These are some really interesting questions, and I was really thinking about them as I was away this week. So good luck with the readings and resources, because as I said, they're going to have some carryover, and certainly good luck with that paper about the NBA. The instructions, I think, are fairly clear, but if you do have questions, be sure you post it into the Ask the Professor discussion board, because that way, if you have that question, it's quite likely several other people do too, and that way I can handle it for all. Okay, thanks again for all your support, all your understanding of my schedule, my understanding of your schedule, and all the hard work that you're doing, and I think you're going to have a good time with this assignment. Thank you.